technology and that lets you save.
Who cares?
True Form Life.
Green look.
That starts with parenting, and then that starts with taking the kids to the grocery store, letting them make choices, having the kids in with you with the kitchen, like helping them make better choices.
Welcome to Exploring Mind and Body with Taddia. Drew is an expert in nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and more. And he wants to help you live a healthier, longer, and more active life. Now here's your host, Taddia.
Welcome to another edition of nationally syndicated Exploring Mind and Body. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in, for being a part of our True Form Life community. We're coming at you with a brand new show. We appreciate whether you're listening on terrestrial radio across the country or as a podcast around the world. We certainly wouldn't be here without you. So stick around. We got all that coming up.
This is Exploring Mind and Body. Naturally improve your lifestyle one show at a time with your host, Taddia.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Happy day. Happy day. I just want to jump on here this morning, and we're going to be talking about snacking for kids. Snacking for kids in particular, but for parents, what do you buy and why? I feel like this is a super important topic, one that comes up quite a bit because it's not particularly like it's not just parents, for example, that have a hard time with this one. It's grandparents. Also, grandparents aren't really sure what to buy their grandkids. And then on top of that, it's outside pressure, so social pressure, which I'm going to talk about here as well. So we got lots going on today. I feel like, first of all, it's important to mention that I don't have any judgment for what you do or how you choose to raise your child. I think that's the challenge, to be honest with you. That's what I might be focusing on. We'll see what happens. I haven't talked about this topic in particular. I wanted to change it up. I said, what can I talk about that's different than what we usually talk about? And we have a lot of our audience. A lot of our audience is moms, is busy moms in particular. And doesn't necessarily have to be just moms with little kids. You could have moms that they may be 5, 10, 15 years old. You might have an 18-year-old. Doesn't mean that you're excluded. And then many times, if you're not specifically raising a younger one yourself, you have grandchildren, and it's the same deal. Like you're busy and you're trying to figure out what to feed yourself, your spouse, and your grandkids now instead of your own kids. So I feel like opening up our scope of our vision, I suppose, and making better choices not only for ourselves but for our kids. And here's the thing: like when we're raising a kid, like ours is a year and a half, and it's easily the most challenging thing we've ever done. And then you have like you have outside opinions, you have outside circumstances. Like everyone is in their own path. Everyone's trying to figure out their own way. And when doing something so challenging, everything weighs on you. Like everyone else's opinion weighs on you, or the commercials on TV, or if you're watching, or if your kids are watching TV or iPads, like it's the whole societal struggle of what's best for your child. And I honestly, like, unless there's some obviously real harm there, I would say what you choose is best for them because that's how you're going to raise them. And like if you're raising your child one way and someone else is raising their child another way, I don't think one's better than the other. I think that we choose what's best for ourselves. Good morning. Speaking of, so one of the challenges here is that often people will come to us when their kids are as early as 5, 10, 15 years old, and they want to make changes themselves for their health. So they want to know what they can do for the kids, because the kids are used to Fruit Loops and Gushers. But the challenge here is that the earlier you start them off, the better off you're going to be. And I'm not saying it's too late for anyone. It's just more of a struggle the later you get them going, because here's what we find that often is that mom in particular, she wants to make some changes. She's tired of being tired and miserable and run down. So she wants to make some changes for her health. She wants to make some changes for herself. And then it's really difficult getting the kids on board and the spouse, of course. And the longer you wait to make that happen, the more of a challenge it's going to be, because we're all set in our ways. And if you look at like, it's not just you, right? Like, we could make the best choices for our health and for our child's health. Like, we could do that. But then you have to look at outside circumstances. You could have to look at commercials on TV if they're watching TV, or those commercials are obviously influencing the parents to make different choices. When you go to the grocery store is built around marketing. It's built around sales. It's not built around health. Like, most health food stores aren't even built around healthy products. They're built around marketing and sales. That's it. So like, everything that they do at the grocery store, from putting the chocolate bars in magazines to by the checkout, to what products go at eye level and the cost, like, that's all been researched and studied, and they know what they're doing, and that, like, their job is to sell more products, and maybe rightly so. Like, no one said that a grocery store is supposed to be healthy. Like, you go to the farmer's market for that, or maybe you go to a better health food store, not a pharmacy either. So it's really dependent on where you decide to go and where your focus is, because where your focus is, energy goes, right? And I think it's important for us to understand that we have a choice and we decide what it is that we want to do, but with the external influence, right? So when you're going to the grocery store, you know you're going to be marketed to whatever's on sale or whatever they want to sell more on, because they put that on in better sections or better areas. But then, of course, you have the outside influence of friends. Like, friends want to do their thing, or your friends are just doing what they regularly do, but now they're doing it around you and your kids. And it's the same thing with food. Like, that's not just like, electronics is a whole nother ball game. Same deal with electronics. Like, we want to keep electronics away from our 1.5-year-old. And that's not to say everyone should or everyone needs to. That's just our opinion. So without TV, phones, tablets, it's pretty difficult to get your family on board when they're used to having electronics in front of themselves all the time. You bring them in front of a child, and they still are going to want to be on their electronics because it's an addiction, right? I think we can all understand how that works. But when it comes to nutrition in particular, you have to understand, like, that's environment as well. Like, everything is going to influence your kids. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not just talking about toddlers. I'm talking about 10, 15-year-olds as well. I had this friend, and he says, "Oh, my daughter won't eat any greens." I said, "When's the last time you ate any greens?" And he just kind of shook his head, because he doesn't eat very healthy, doesn't eat green stuff, doesn't eat salads, and his daughter doesn't eat green salads. And I said, well, you're going to influence her positively or negatively, or closer to greens or closer to boxed food. Another situation happened. I was peeling a mango, and my friend's child wanted a piece, and he's like, "You're not going to eat that. You're not going to eat that mango. Just don't give it to her. You'll probably just end up throwing it away, piece of it." And I was like, "Well, I'll give her." I said, "If you don't mind, I'll give her a piece if she's asking for one." So I gave her a piece, and she loved it. She ended up eating half the mango, but he didn't eat any mango before. So you have to understand that you are your child's strongest influence. And these are the things that they're either going to follow or avoid. And later on in life, it doesn't matter. Like, we'll get to that in another segment or another show, like, because people say, "Oh, well, they do the opposite of me now." And that's more grown or more older children. Like, I feel like it's our job. And you think, like, we've had family or friends try to give our little guy sugar, like whatever it was, ice cream or cake or whatever. And we say, "Hey, we don't do that. Like, we'd appreciate if you didn't give him any cake right now." And I mean, that's a struggle in its own rights, trying to get people to understand that that's not what we want or that's not what we choose. But people say, thank you guys for joining live. If you're watching this, you could be watching this live right now on our Facebook page. We're going to put this up on our podcast, which is called Exploring Mind and Body. So just audio version. You can check out all past shows on exploringmindandbody.com. And then this also is going to go up on our YouTube channel. So if you prefer YouTube at a later date, it's just at True Form Life. So, but what I'm saying there is that we have to understand that there's other influences, not just you as parents, but it's those people that you surround yourself with. And sometimes that's not exactly in alignment with what you want for your children, right? Like, we understand, and we get all types of comments, right? Because most of the world thinks that or believes, and it's fine. Like, they believe that children should have electronics at whatever age, as young as possible, right? And that's okay. I don't have any judgment. It's really, I feel like more people have judgment on us because it's like, "Oh, why wouldn't you?" And then you get those comments like, "They're going to watch TV sometime in their life," right? Or, "You can't prevent them from watching TV forever." I'm like, all right. But for us, it's the foundation. Like, we want to give him a solid foundation of what life looks like without a TV, phone, or tablet for the first number of years, however long we can hold that. Same thing with sugar. It's like, oh, you're not ever going to give him McDonald's, and I'm like, I don't remember the last time we ate at McDonald's. It's probably been 10 years. So that's the lifestyle that we live. And he's going to live that lifestyle as well, at least until he's out of the house. If you want to live under this roof. No, of course, so our job, like what we feel our job is to build a solid foundation and the education behind what we're doing. And the challenge with the whole sugar and end of it is that sugar's a drug, and sugar's highly addictive, and sugar actually affects your brain patterns. And you could see that across the board. You could talk to any teacher around Halloween and ask them what sugar does to kids when they're eating sugar, when they bring candy from Halloween to school. Like, it's bonkers. Kids are running around like crazy. And that's not something, then in my opinion, kids are loaded with sugar, or they have Fruit Loops for breakfast, and then they try to focus at school, and then they're deemed ADD or ADHD or problem child because they can't sit there, all the while they don't have any nutrients except sugar going through their body. And of course that's extreme, but that happens often. And it's the same difference when you have ice cream every night for dinner, or cake or pie or whatever it is, and then you try to put your toddler or preteen to bed. They're not going to sleep, right? Like, we don't sleep on that stuff. It's the same thing when we look at adults, like across the board. When we start to look at food journals and work with our clients individually, we look at what they're eating in the evening. And a lot of times people say, I don't sleep. They go, okay, you're not sleeping. Let's look at your food patterns. Let's look at your habits in the evening. And from there, we can have a better idea of what your process looks like when you get ready for bed. And a lot of people are watching, like, flipping through their news feed, which is, what's the word? It's like stimulating. So you're flipping through your news feed, and often it's something that you're passionate about. So that gets your blood flowing, or you get the emotions going. And that's not a great state to be in before bed. So that's number one. On top of that, most people snack in the evenings, and there's a number of reasons we snack. And I've dabbled this in the past. We've talked about is cramming your calories in later in the evening, or even like that processed food, because we're bored or because we're used to snacking in the evening, often because we don't get the calories we need earlier in the day. So we're snacking on highly processed food, sugary, toxic, and it's a stimulant. So we're snacking in the evening right before bed. We're either on the news feed, or we're watching some type of crazy movie that keeps our mind buzzing hours into the evening. And then we say we don't sleep. Oh, I don't sleep very well. Or we say I don't have energy to get up in the morning for a workout. So I'm like, okay, let's hit the rewind button and check out what's happening in the evening. And what's happening in the evening is exactly what's happening is what I just explained, which is why you're not getting a good night's sleep, which is why you don't have the energy you need to get up earlier, which is why you're not getting your workout in. So it's all a pattern, and it's a process. It's not like one thing. Some people are like, oh, I don't sleep. I'm like, okay, why don't you sleep? It's not just a default mode. Like, we should be sleeping. We should be sleeping well, and we should be sleeping deeply. I mean, you could look at supplements. Of course, we're into supplements, and you could look at lack of magnesium, for example, in your body. Most people feel a change almost instantly in their body when they start taking proper supplements. But if you're filling your body with fast food, it's just junk, right? Like, that's my opinion. It's just junk. Like, if you're watching TV all day long or all night long, a lot of that's junk. It's just commercials, it's news, it's things that we don't necessarily need to be seeing, hearing, or watching. And then the food that we're putting in our body is junk. We're hitting the pantry, we're hitting cookies, donuts, crackers. Crackers are so hard to find clean. Like chips, whatever it is. So like, we're consuming junk, we're putting junk in our body. Then we don't sleep that night, so we don't have any energy. And the thing is here is that it's the same for kids, and I feel like they're more sensitive to these things. And they're more like, if you look at, we turn the TV on, we're staying at this place for a month, and we turn the TV on twice, and he's never really seen a TV, only at friends' house or restaurants or whatever. And he had like a full-blown meltdown because he wanted the TV on. And we're like, you've seen the TV up close twice in your life. in almost 2 years. It's kind of crazy. And that's an addiction. And what's crazy is that they watch, right? They watch everything, they listen to everything. They're like a sponge. Like, our little guy repeats almost everything we say. Like not every word. He'll repeat. If we say one or two words, he always repeats the second word. So they're always repeating, they're listening, they're absorbing. And we don't treat them like they know, right? Like if you're sitting there eating a bag of chips, you think that they're not going to want that when they're of age? Or if you're giving them that to them, how do you think that affects their body chemistry or their ability to grow? For example, like we know that the better nutrients that we put in our bodies or our children's bodies, the better we perform and the better we function in general. And that's not just, I'm talking about mood and emotion. So you can talk about temper tantrums. You can talk about body chemistry. So their immune system, how quickly they heal, how they're growing. So I feel like it's a full picture that often we don't consider, we set aside, and we're like, oh, it's not such a big deal, or it's just this one time, or you can't keep them away from ice cream forever. Like, obviously, but and for you to have those conversations as your kids get older and let them know why we stay away from certain foods or why we're consuming certain foods. Like Dorothy takes her little guy to the grocery store all the time, and we hear often that parents don't take their kids to the grocery store because they don't want to be there. They throw temper tantrums. They want everything, like whatever it is. But the earlier and or more often you take them, the more they know how to behave in a grocery store. And that starts with us, right? Like I'm super fortunate. Dorothy loves to just hang out at grocery stores and cruise around and look at items and see what's there. Most people want to run in the grocery store and run out. They don't want to spend any time in there. But that's where things come from. Like that's where our food comes from. That's where our nutrients come from. That's how we fuel our bodies and our kids and our spouse. Like that's important to spend some extra time in the grocery store at least once in a while instead of running in and running out. I just had a friend actually. What was that thing called where you can order online? We don't have it in Canada, at least not yet. But in the US, obviously more people and more demand. Some type of grocery cart online, and it's just an app, and you fill it you fill it out online. You fill your cart out online, and if you spend like $50 or whatever, it's free delivery. So people aren't even going to the grocery store. Someone's just dropping off their groceries or items, which is whatever. I don't have any judgment. It's just challenging for you. Like, how are you going to go to the grocery store and understand how to buy certain items like bananas or apples, for example? How do you understand how to read ingredients? It's really challenging with all of the convenience that there is in this world. It doesn't make things a whole lot easier. So we have to continue to put in that effort. And I was just going back to the grocery store. I think that's a great tip, to get your kids into the grocery store often and help them pick. Like once they're old enough, you give them a little list and you say, which apple do you want? Or do you want apples, oranges, or grapes this time? Whatever. Like let them have a choice. Let them have a voice, because the sooner they our little guy's like a year and a half old, and he picks his fruit. So he has a choice. And then Dorothy will say, here's 3 items. Which ones do you want? And he'll pick what he wants. And it's crazy to think like they have an opinion at that young age. But like as adults, we have a really hard time making decisions across the board. Like we see that often with those in their health. They're like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know when to do that. Like, and it's not just the lack of knowledge. I think lack of knowledge is a very small part of it. We have more lack of action, and that's due to the inability to make decisions. So, and it's a muscle, I feel. The more decisions you make, the more you're able to make in the future. So if you start your little guys out as early as possible making decisions and having them participate, they're going to be much better off in the long run, learning how to make those decisions. And that's not just in the grocery store, that's in the kitchen, like you're in your kitchen as well. So our little guy, he helps load and unload the dishwasher. Like I think that's super valuable. I know it's a small thing, but it probably doesn't sound very significant, but he's actively participating with items around food. So at an early age, he's going to have a good relationship with food. And we work with a lot of people that don't have a very good relationship with food because of their upbringing, or because of emotions around food, or because of mindset around food in particular. Like some people are afraid of food, or a lot of people think that the more food they eat, the more weight they're going to gain. And that's not true. In most cases, we see lack of calories, lack of nutrients, which is why. So lack of calories, clean calories, will increase or help you accumulate body fat, lack of calories, right? And that's really hard for a lot of people to understand, but we weren't taught any different earlier on. So what I'm saying is it's not your fault, but you can change that and you can teach your kids differently. Lack of nutrients causes digestive issues, lack of sleep, energy issues. So we have to have nutrient-dense calories so we can have a well-rounded diet. And of course, diet, lack of a better term. We don't teach dieting, but it's a whole process. But I want you guys to understand that it's not your fault for the situation you're in, but it is our fault for not taking action and changing our situation or circumstance. So a lot of people sit in idle and they're not in growth. They're not trying to figure out if they're moving forward or backwards or left or right. Like, you have to make a clear decision. And then whatever that looks like, you go and hire a coach to teach you how to hit the grocery store, or you teach you how to meal prep, or you're in the kitchen and what are you doing? Like, a lot of adults don't know. So how do you teach your kids? But it's the same thing. That's why I said, like, our little guy helps with the dishwasher. Like, it doesn't seem like very much, but you use that those utensils and plates, silverware, cookware, you use that to make your food. So if you're not sure how to use a pan, or which pan to buy, or how high to put your heat on your pan, or if you're using grass-fed butter or coconut oil in the pan, like steaming or boiling vegetables, like, the more you're in the kitchen, the better off that you're going to be, and the better off that your kids are going to be. If you're never in the kitchen, how could you expect your kids to learn or ever want to be in the kitchen either? And I'm thinking, like, I think of their future. Like, what are you setting them up for? Like, if you always make your kids lunch, if you always do their laundry, if you always make their food, what's going to happen when they're grown adults? They're just going to figure it out on their own. It's going to be really challenging for them to figure it out, because they're starting from ground zero. They're in college, they're 18 or 22 years old, and maybe they move out. And I don't know if this is still the case, but when we were younger, it was like a thing. Like, you graduated, you got married, you bought a house, and you had kids, and that was it. And then I think, this is probably a different subject, but our divorce rate has been very high. And I feel like it's because of that system, like that box that we feel like everyone needs to be in, because that's what you do. That's what my cousin did. That's what my sister did. That's what my mom did, or whatever. And it doesn't need to be like that, but we have to start earlier on. And we have to, like, you heard of, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but when I was in college and university, it was like the freshman 10, the sophomore 15. And it was because when kids got to university, they didn't know how to prepare food. And we were in the same situation. A lot of kids didn't know how to do their laundry. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know how to do your laundry? They didn't know how to cook, never been to the grocery store. And I thought to myself, like, what did your parents do? Like, your parents did everything for you? And like, that's okay. Like I said, I don't have any judgment. It was just eye-opening for me to be like, wow, that's a really tough road to go down, to be an adult, a young adult, and starting from scratch, trying to figure out how to buy groceries, cook your own food, wash your dishes, wash your laundry, pay your bills. I literally, this happened. I had a roommate that didn't know how to write a check, and I felt really bad for him. And like, we were young, we were early 20s, but no one taught him how to write a check. So we were paying rent with a check, and we both put in our side, like each piece. Like, I put in half, he put in half, and he didn't know how to write a check. So I had to teach him how to write a check, and he was 22 years old. And I just thought, my gosh, and something else happened. Oh, he didn't know how to budget. He had no idea how to budget. That's for another subject. I mean, I think it's really difficult for most adults to budget, but when it comes to kids in particular, like, this guy was writing checks. It's my roommate. He was writing checks that he didn't have money for. And I don't think he knew he didn't have money for her. And I don't think it was like trying to do something bad or wrong. He just didn't know that you need to have money in your bank account to write a check. Or you got to deposit, if you don't have money in the bank account, before you hand that check over, you got to put money in the bank account. Like, it was just odd. It's just odd. It was sad. Like, I still think back and like, my gosh, like, his parents must have taught him nothing. So he was bouncing checks. Our power went out, and I called the place and I said, what happened? Like, why did the power went out? He said, oh, you only paid half. I'm like, what do you mean I paid half? He put this in, I put that in. Like, no, that check bounced. So only half your payment came through, and we turned the power off. This is your total to turn it back on. But at least for me, like in my opinion, that starts with that. That starts with parenting, and then that starts with, like I said, having the kids and taking the kids to the grocery store, letting them make choices, having the kids in with you with the kitchen, like helping them make better choices, right? Like you take them to the store, and we call it the no choice, right? You have crackers, an apple, and a watermelon, and he says, and then he says, I want the crackers, and you say, oh, actually, you have a choice between watermelon or apple. That's helping influence a better choice. I'm just wrapping things up. But again, I wanted to finish off with the kitchen, is getting the kids involved in the kitchen, like getting them involved with meal prep and helping them understand. Like we teach adults how to meal prep, and which is fine. But if you teach kids how to meal prep, then they'll understand at an early age, right? And when we're in the kitchen, he's in the kitchen, and he sees us in the kitchen all the time, because they're sitting in the kitchen right now on the floor. You know what? I got to tell you, I was proud of him. I was super proud of him yesterday. So he asks for, he's going to ask for it here as soon as I say that. So we have spirulina. Most of you guys know we take spirulina every day. We sell it. So we take green tabs every day. So he asks for every day. He asks for beans because he can't. Can you hear him? Because he can't say greens yet. But he gets green tabs. We just give him one. We break it up. Sometimes two, because he's persistent or insistent. And then now he's asking for greens right now. And now, so he gets a spirulina tab. He used to get it in his milk, and now he chews on the tab, and his mouth gets all green. It's hilarious. And then on top of that, we have kombucha every morning. He's going to ask for it now. So every morning he asks booch. He can't say kombucha, so he says booch. So he asks for booch. So he had, in one hand, he had a little green. Another hand, he had his kombucha. And then he had a protein shake. We give him our vanilla protein. Beautiful ingredients. So he's having protein shake. He's having spirulina greens. He's having kombucha, and then he had some like chopped up oranges on his little bowl. And I just thought, like, I think we're doing pretty good. Like, I think we're doing pretty good if he's asking for a kombucha and he's having greens early on. I still feel like if they have that solid foundation and they have those choices, and like it's the conversation, right? Like we have this conversation on a regular basis. Like it's around food, around nutrition, it's around exercise. He watches Dorothy and I both work out at different times of the day. He's there with both of us working out. I keep trying to get to this point, but it doesn't seem to be happening. My last point I want to leave you with is the having them help out in the kitchen, whether that's making pizza night for fun or making spaghetti. Obviously, you have to watch if they're like boiling water, but like spaghetti night's an easy night for them to participate and help out. And the thing is like it's all a cycle, right? Like you have them at the grocery store making choices about food. They're going to want to be more involved. Like if they choose spaghetti, they're going to want to be more involved in making that spaghetti because they had the opportunity to choose that. And then you have your meal, and then they have the opportunity to help clean up and load the dishwasher. I just think it's a cycle that everyone could learn from, that I'm hoping would be beneficial to you. All right, everyone, thank you for joining live. If you are watching the replay, let us know in the comments. And then if you're watching if you're listening, audio version only on Exploring Mind and Body, we appreciate that as well. Last few words about our little black dress gala coming up. November 25th, save the date. We are going to have a dinner, dance. We got a DJ booked. We're going to have a beautiful meal. We're going to have a little celebration. We'll have some presentations. We'll have some speeches. This is for inspiration, excitement, fun. If you're in the Olds local area, we want to do something so you didn't have to drive to do something. In most cases, we have to drive to a bigger city to go out and have some fun. So if you guys are interested, more details are on the website, trueformlife.com. I'm out of here. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll catch you soon.
Trueform Life.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Exploring Mind and Body. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of our Trueform Life community. You can always find us on Facebook.com/TrueformLife. We post up there a couple times a day on our story. We're always trying to bring you more content around living a healthy lifestyle, whether that be nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and more. We also have free challenges that we do at least once a month. So if you follow us along there, you'll be able to join maybe a plank challenge or a squat challenge, Tabata challenge, challenge, whatever it may be. We'd love to have you join us. We're also on Instagram.com/Drew Taddia. Again, we're posting up there a couple times a day along with our story, all dedicated to keeping you fit and healthy and on track. Our main website is trueformlife.com. If you want to check out some of our products, some of our services, or if you just want some great content from videos to blog posts and recipes and more, we got all that at trueformlife.com. Once again, thank you so much for being here. That's it. That's all I got. I'm out of here. As always, I'm your host, Drew Taddia, in health and fitness for a better world. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Exploring Mind and Body with Trueform Life's Drew Taddia, fitness expert. To find out more about the show, Drew Taddia, or to listen to past shows, visit exploringmindandbody.com.